This is a crisis, Madam Speaker.
I would ask every member of this House, every MP who's going to have responsibility for allocations that are being provided to help people to approach it in that way and to ensure that it's based on need and it's not based on whether the person vote for this one or that one. That is not relevant now.
Why is this community getting and not that community? Hey, you forgot that community. Hey, you should put some more.
What matters now is helping our people to get back on their feet, whether they're Labourite or PNP or no P at all.
That is what we are trying to establish now, because that supply chain operation has to stand up for at least 2 months. And then, of course, Parliament has to have oversight on it. That's what the Oversight Committee will do. And that's how that relief I'm expecting will operate. And that's why I give the assurance that what we have will be fairly shared for every Jamaican.
But the point I want to make, Prime Minister, is that you have given a commitment here today that nobody should suffer any disadvantage because of anything to do with political affiliation or indeed who they are and where they are. The issue is need and the response to the need. And everybody should be treated proportionately in accordance with the extent of their need.
This is a crisis, Madam Speaker. And it is one thing that we must never do, is waste a crisis.
As we speak, tens of thousands, an untold number really, of our Jamaican people are living in conditions which are unbearable. Many have lost homes. Many have lost all their belongings. Many are in communities which are cut off. Many are struggling to find food. Water is a big problem because the water supply systems have been impacted by the lack of electricity, the turbidity, and other issues. So we must move rapidly to address that crisis.
So yes, my viewers and subscribers, remember to like and share the video. Like and share the video because we have some serious things to talk about. The government and the opposition must work together. This is about people first. This is about Jamaicans first. The country has been devastated by this hurricane and we have to put politics aside and put politics out of it. The Prime Minister is making all kind of statement and promise, oh yes, it's not going to be about politics. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing the JLP areas getting resources and getting help, and the PNP areas not getting help. You understand? That is what we're seeing. And we have to come with a collaborative effort together, united as a country to get this sorted out. There are a number of announcements which are being made, my viewers subscribers. A whole heap of things that they talk about. Watch the video to the end because you're going to hear the Prime Minister. He talk some foolishness sometime, but he might talk some things that make sense. And you're also going to hear Mark Golem. But in order to get through this, we must work together. Like and share, watch the video to the end.
I am announcing that persons will be allowed to import Starlink equipment and other such equipment, inverters and solar power equipment, including panels and batteries, free of custom duty and GST. Madam Speaker, this is in an attempt to get power and communication back into the communities that really need it. Now, I know others will take advantage of it, but I appeal to every Jamaican. If you can buy 2 Starlinks and send one to a family or a community, do it. If you can buy solar batteries and solar panels and give it to a community or to a household in the affected parts of Jamaica, please do it. I will look into that, because they are already giving a loan. But I know that when we give up these revenues, others will benefit from it who don't really need it. So I've asked Jamaicans to use your conscience ensure that the other half of Jamaica that is suffering now benefits from this relief. Madam Speaker, while the needs across our nation are indeed great, we must also remain judicious and disciplined in the use of public funds. So, Leader of the Opposition, I couldn't give $50 million just so. Because, Madam Speaker, we have the bill coming from health. We have the bill coming for cleaning. We have the bill coming for schools. We have the bills coming for JDF and JCF. We have the bill coming for agriculture, for tourism, for water, not to mention the bill for roads. So, Leader of the Opposition, as I say, you know, it sounds good, but it's wishful thinking. We couldn't do it. And the truth is, Leader of the Opposition, we may very well over a period of time do it. But at this present time, we have to literally be very careful with how we spend. So the truth is, Leader of the Opposition, you know, as we speak, we see that there are other weather systems forming. You know, we don't know. So we just have to be very careful with the resources that we have. And that's why I give the assurance that what we have will be fairly shared for every Jamaican. I want to announce two other things. In the COVID pandemic, we established an oversight committee of Parliament to review the work of the Ministry of Health in its operations. We will establish a similar oversight committee of Parliament to review the distribution, welfare, relief operations. I've given a direction to the House Leader to speak with the opposition leader of opposition business to establish that committee, the terms and how it will work. Madam Speaker, it is in the interest of the government to have the highest level of transparency in what we do. There is no victory for JLP communities to have food and PMP communities not. There is no victory, or vice versa. None whatsoever. And therefore, we will put in place every measure to ensure that whatever is given to us and whatever we spend from our budget, fairly done, everybody can see it, and everyone benefits. So as soon as we meet again by the next Parliament, that committee should be in place. A special joint select committee possibly that will look at the operations. All right? Madam Speaker, in a time of crisis, every Jamaican wants to participate. One of the greatest challenges you face in a time of crisis is to organize goodwill. It is a Leader of the Opposition, it is a real challenge to organize goodwill. Because there are some people who want to come and go on their own. There are some people who are saying, tell me what to do. And there are some who will tell you what to do. And it can become very confusing, bearing in mind that government operates by law and a particular structure. And it is very difficult to get people who have to operate by law to operate outside of that, meaning that you could have people with goodwill coming and say, do that, do this, But the agent who has the legal responsibility say, I can't take an instruction from you, or I have to see something in writing, or it has to go through a process. And so I have had to be spending my time in structuring the cabinet, in structuring how our permanent secretaries and others in government operate, to bear in mind that whilst we have the legal framework, there is an emergency, and therefore we have to operate with more speed and alacrity because there is human suffering that we are trying to minimize. That in itself is a task that the public will never see and probably will not understand. But that is why you have government. That is government business. Government must deal with that. And that is what I have been doing. And yes, we recognize the calls that have been made about establishing that committee or putting that. Of course we know that. We have never operated outside of that framework. We should, however, recognize that the history of our country is that the government does not stand on its own. Never has. Constitutionally, we are probably the only country where the leader of the opposition is entrenched in the Constitution. That it means that I can't go off on my own as Prime Minister. My own as Prime Minister. We'll take a ride together. Yeah. But it is the nature of our democracy.
Prime Minister, I agree with the extension of the exemption from customs duty for an additional month to facilitate the tremendous goodwill towards Jamaica being actualized in tangible demonstrations of things coming into the country to help our people. 30 days would have been unduly short given the time it takes to get the logistics of those things worked through. An additional month is helpful, and I'm sure you will take that into account and under advisement and watch it as things go along. But I do agree with that, and in fact I had suggested it as well, so I'm glad we're seeing it.
But we will have to immediately, almost in parallel, transition to recovery, where we have to answer difficult questions. Should Black River be where it is? How do we build a resilient town in Black River? What are we going to do with Falmouth? Precisely. What are we going to do with the hospitals? Should we rebuild these hospitals with zinc roofs? And schools. All of these are questions that we have to work out. And there are political issues involved, and so it really does need that kind of senior experienced politicians, statesmen who have been in the system long, who can help that conversation along in order to make these massive changes that are needed to make Jamaica resilient. So as we get into those discussions, you will see the importance of having persons like our statesmen, people of influence and high regard in the society, guiding debate, convening, and giving support. And that is being structured as we speak.
So my viewers, subscribers, you just heard some of the nonsense from the Prime Minister as well as some things that make sense. The extension for duty imports and relief efforts to 60 days, yeah, that makes sense. The Starlink and other things make sense. But the Prime Minister is a damn liar. But the government don't do nothing on its own. The government do everything on its own. when you lick down people land, when you increase your salary, when you want to force on needs from the people, when you carry the country go court, you are the government and you do everything by your own. You're a liar, my viewers and subscribers, and that's why people don't trust him, and him know people don't trust him government. People are very skeptical of you and your government. And I believe that the opposition must be on any committee where monitor the money, the opposition must be on him. My viewers and subscribers, type in the comments and tell me what I have to say now. Who forget rub out. But listen to Mark Golding now and listen what Mark J have to say. Let's.
We know that the agricultural sector has suffered an immense hit. Farmers have suffered huge losses. And of course, in that regard, it is not limited to just the West. I know that there are farmers in many parts of Jamaica which have suffered major hits, Minister. I'm sure you would agree. And so in how we design relief, we have to take that into account. It is, although the West is devastated and requires utmost care and attention and sympathy and resources and coordination, as you have said, there are many other parts of Jamaica that have also suffered significant damage and losses, and that has to be taken into account as well. I think everyone in this House must be extremely concerned about the impact of the hurricane on our students. Many schools have been very badly hit, and unfortunately, in those areas, that has also come with the failing of the electricity supply system and internet connectivity. So the option which existed in COVID, where one could rapidly try to transition to online learning and so on, is not readily available as a solution at this time. This means that we have to have a very creative and flexible approach to bringing students back into the education system to minimize learning loss, take into account the need to do so safely, and also take into account the psychological impact that this hurricane has had on them, and indeed their teachers, principals, and everyone else involved in the education system. And we look forward to hearing more of that in due course. Madam Speaker, right now, there are tens of thousands, one doesn't know the number.
House Leader, the member's time for speaking has expired. The standing orders were not suspended. The standing orders, Leader, the standing orders were not suspended to allow for the completion. Could you please move? So move.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the standing orders be suspended to allow the Leader of the Opposition to complete his presentation.
Thank you, House Leader. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate that indulgence. I think that's a good start. I hope, as I've said, similar indulgences will be afforded my colleagues when their time comes to respond to the Prime Minister's statement. Where I was going, Madam Speaker, I was making the point that as we speak, tens of thousands, an untold number really, of our Jamaican people are living in conditions which are unbearable. Many have lost homes. Many have lost all their belongings. Many are in communities which are cut off. Many are struggling to find food. Water is a big problem because the water supply systems have been impacted by the lack of electricity, the turbidity, and other issues. So we must move rapidly to address that crisis. The provision of shelter and the longer-term solutions to the rebuilding of homes or the establishment of new solutions, that will require planning and careful thought. And I endorse the view that we cannot just do what we've done before, because we are in a new era We're in an era where the Caribbean Sea is warming, and it has several negative effects. And one of those effects is that the storms that are emerging in the season are stronger, and they're also moving in ways which we weren't accustomed to before. So we can expect, as the Prime Minister has said, that we will have fairly frequent situations which we have to address, and we must be more resilient, and that requires serious thought as to how we rebuild and where we rebuild. But in the immediate term, you have little children, you have the elderly, you have pregnant mothers, you have persons with disabilities who are catching at a friend's house or a relative's house. Some of them are just under a makeshift piece of tarpaulin strung up over some structure or other, and they are at risk. The public health aspect of this, the Prime Minister made reference to it. I think it's a very serious issue. There is massive settlement of water in large parts of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, and no doubt other parishes. St. Anne, rivers broke their banks, underground water is behaving in unusual ways, and they see, when you pass through, you see numerous dead animals, often in those ponded waters. This presents a serious public health risk, and we have to address that very carefully. There is also a major public health risk from people with chronic diseases who need medications which need to be kept in cool conditions, refrigerated conditions, who don't have access to refrigerated conditions for medication. There's a huge risk that those persons will suffer negative health consequences from not being able to maintain their normal course of treatment for their conditions. We have to address that. So in the hub and spoke model which we're trying to build out, that needs to be taken into account fully so that there can be a delivery of health care to people in communities who are currently not getting it. And I'm sure others will speak to that in greater detail. Prime Minister, I have some concerns, and you've heard my recommendation, and I'm glad you're giving it thought, and I'm glad you're listening to what we're saying so carefully, and listening to others as well. That's a good thing. I too want to endorse, as I have been, the importance of us as leaders in this society being united in the response to this terrible calamity. Communities have supporters of both sides who have been impacted by this thing. We are Jamaicans, and we love each other, we love our nation, and we must approach dealing with this with mutual respect, care, and love. And I can assure you, Prime Minister, that we genuinely seek to be part of the solution to help Jamaica get through this. You can count on us cooperating and playing a constructive role to the extent we are afforded the opportunity to do so. And I hope that in the design of the overall mechanism for charting the course forward, for dealing with the rollout of the recovery and reconstruction, that the need for unity, the confidence that will come when people at home and abroad see a united mechanism, a mechanism built on that principle being the way in which it is done. I think that there's a lot to be said for that, and that's why I made the recommendation that I have.
So my viewers and subscribers, you've heard Marky G give him speech. You heard Andrew Olney talk before. And, you know, as Marky G closed up, he mentioned how important it is for the international community to see Jamaica working together throughout this hurricane. The people are spending their money, they're sending their money, and they want to see that the government and the country and the opposition is working together on behalf of the people. Remember to like and share the video, my viewers and subscribers. That is what it is all about. Sometimes you have to know there's a time and place for everything. And so the Bible says, and there's a time and place to cuss. There's a time and place to be vindictive. There's a time and place to carry feelings. But in an emergency such as this, there is only time for us to work united that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty. I never remember and play our part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.